Mr. President.
Israel's envoy accused Iran of being a terrorist state, pointing to its aerial assault last Saturday as just the latest example of what he called the Ayatollah regime's blood-soaked history.
The Ayatollah regime's foreign minister, Hussein Amir Abdollahian, is a member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. This terror organization, the IRGC, is responsible for carnage, bloodshed, and destruction worldwide. From terror attacks in South America and assassination plots on European and American soil to arms trafficking in Africa and terror sponsorship across the Middle East, the IRGC is in the business of murder. The IRGC is a designated terrorist organization, not only in Israel, not only in the United States, in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia.
He accused Iran of ensuring Hamas was able to carry out the October 7th attack while providing weaponry to Hezbollah in Lebanon, whom Erdogan also accuses of raining down missiles on Israeli towns and cities in its northern regions.
Yet, instead of designating the IRGC as a terror organization and sanctioning Iran's evil regime, the Security Council opens its doors for Iran's foreign minister, for a terrorist. Can you not see what is going on here? Terror Minister Abdollahian is not here to express sorrow for his regime's brazen attack and tell this council that the Islamic Republic has changed its ways. He is here to make a mockery of you. He is here to show you all, in your suits and with your diplomatic niceties, that his country can launch an attack on another member state on Saturday, and then he can come here on Thursday to lecture you all on human rights and international law. Minister Abdollahian's presence here today is making this institution a joke.
The minister in question arrived later to assert Iran's right to self-defense against the suspected Israeli attack on its consulate in Syria, lamenting the lack of international condemnation against Israel for that strike.
It was carried out in response to a series of attacks and recurring aggressions by the Israeli regime in form of missile attacks on Iran's interests, especially on our embassy in Syria. Thirdly, it took place in the fulfillment of Iran's right to legitimate defense under international law. Fourthly, it was conducted by observing the criterion of non-aggression to civilian people and places.
He again asserted that Iran's self-defense actions had been concluded amid strong indications from Israel that it would respond.
The Israeli regime, the terrorist Israeli regime, must be compelled to stop any further military adventurism against our interests. Certainly, in case of any use of force by the Israeli regime and violating our sovereignty, the Islamic Republic of Iran will not hesitate a bit to assert its inherent right to give a decisive and proper response to it, to make the regime regret its actions. This is an unchangeable decision.
The United States envoy also confirmed fresh sanctions against Iran's unmanned aerial program, its largest steel producers and automobile companies with connections to the Revolutionary Guard.
Iran has provided significant funding and training for the military wing of Hamas, which, as we know, perpetrated unspeakable acts of cruelty on October 7 against Israelis, Americans, and citizens from countries all over the world. This long-standing Iranian support continues to contribute to the current crisis in Gaza. While Iran's minister will offer excuses for these actions today, we have a collective responsibility to set the record straight on Iran's nefarious actions, to ensure that Iran both complies with the Council's resolutions and ceases its violations of international law.
Mr. President,
Earlier, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres warned the Council that the Middle East was on a precipice, and one miscalculation away from a full-scale regional escalation that would be devastating for those involved and the rest of the world. Shervin Ricepies, SABC News, New York.